Good afternoon. My name is Mark. I'm with Gov Directions, and here we are with Gov School. This is a series that we do for our members to help you learn a little bit more about government contracting. We have our schedule online, and our library is also here of a recorded version. Today, we're going to hear from Tammy Bailey-Fultz. She's an RFP writing expert, and she's an expert on a lot of different topics, but I'm going to let her really introduce herself to you. But just as a note, she is a business procurement consultant, an entrepreneur, educator, and speaker, and she is the CEO and president of the National Association of Women-Owned Small Businesses, as well as her own company, Nomicon Solutions. She is one of my favorite speakers. Every time we have her on, I get a lot of comments about how great the session was. So I want to encourage you to listen in. It's going to take us she'll probably carry us to an hour. She has a way of really sharing the information with us, and we like that. She's going to be very engaging. So sit back and enjoy the session, and let us know later on how, if you have any questions, get them ready, and we'll call on you as we move through the session. Tammy, you there?
Yes, I am, Mark. Let me just.
Well, I'm going to stop my share now, and then that will allow you to take over. There you go. And just as I meant to also, because we have, if we do lose connection for anybody, just come back to this channel. We'll still be here. And we just like to make sure you're aware of that as we go into a longer session. So there, I'll turn it over to you, Tammy. How are you doing today?
Okay, wonderful. Great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. How's everyone today? I see a few faces, a few people looking a little confused, like, uh-oh, what's going on here? This sister look like she's ready to get started. Yes, I am. Okay, so I hope that you all are on board. I hope that you're having a fantastic Tuesday, the start of a new month and a new season. And, I love August because our business owners act as if they are going back to school too. Everybody's been playing for the summer somewhat because, this year was different with the pandemic. And so, people we're getting back out there for the months of June and July, trying to see family, trying to travel, trying to just see the world, right? And so lo and behold, we have all this chatter that's going on now, regards about vaccine and masks and all of that. So, I just say for you all to stay safe, whatever's your preference, but we just, pray that everyone stays well and healthy and safe, right? So I'm glad that you're here today. I feel that when August comes, that it's like going back to school. So everybody starts getting serious. And then after Labor Day, they're really serious, but they're only serious for a little bit of time, a short window. They're usually good for the months of September and October. And then November, people start shutting down again. That's the way it goes in business because they're thinking about holidays and family. And so they, it works, it all works. But nevertheless, Mark, thank you so much for inviting me. I have spoken to a number of members and non-members with Gov Markets in terms of contracts and solicitations and whatever name that you want to call it, bids and all, but it's wonderful. I love the whole procurement world. I'm constantly in there all day between researching and writing is what I do, and advising and coaching and consulting and all of those things. And so I see the gamut of all types of contract opportunities in various industries. I have, as Mark has mentioned, been successful in being able to obtain 5-year contracts for all of my clients. And those contracts vary various industries and various agencies within the government. So it's not all federal. There have been some great opportunities at the local level, the county level, the city. I always tell people, look in your own backyard, don't overlook those opportunities as well, because there are some really great opportunities at the local level. And then, of course, you do want to engage when you can, if you can, with the federal government, provided, of course, that you qualify. So today we want to talk about, of course, it's a lot of people, once they get over where to find the opportunities, of course, you have this great platform here with Mark. So that makes it easy because you have one source shop here. And so you know where to go. Once you get over that, then the other part of it is, okay, what's all this mumbo jumbo? How do I even write? How do I respond to what the government is asking for? And it's a lot. You know, it can be at times, but sometimes they'll surprise you and they're not asking for a whole lot. And I had one of those just the other day, which was, it was really interesting because I was so used to responding to where it's a lot. So when it didn't ask for a lot, I kept flipping the paper like, and what else do you want? And there was nothing else. You know, it was a rare one where they only wanted maximum 5 pages and they really wanted very, very simple. It was just something that was very unique. So, but every now and then you will run across those. So today, as Mark mentioned, I love engaging. I love being hands-on. So I thought I would take it from the perspective of sharing my screen and just starting with a blank canvas and helping you to create possibly your template. Everyone's template will look a little bit different, of course, but I thought, you know, so you all have to, I'm not the best in technology. I do pretty well, spur of the moment. And Mark, you know, he has seen me in action when I tried to, you know, work with the class and start from scratch. But I'm going to try that today a little bit, and it may come out a little crazy, but nevertheless, you'll get the idea, and it will help you to see how simple it can be for you as well in creating your own template, because that's really ultimately what you're doing here with the contracts. And that way, like your resume, then you'll get a chance to tweak it as you go. So, you know, when you have a resume and you're applying for a job, you want to use some of the language, right, of what is already being stated in regards to the position. It's the same thing. So if you think about an RFP response, think of it the same way as if you were responding to a job ad and sending in your resume. You would not dare send in your resume, I would hope not anyway, send in a resume that's for general manager of a retail store versus a management position over IT. So you would have to change it. You would have to change your language. You will have to, you know, put the order of words a little bit differently. And so it's the same thing with the RFP response. You should be tweaking it and changing it the same way that you would for your resume. It's not a one shot of something that's the same for everyone. You should definitely go in and make a change there. Okay. So with that being said, I am going to, if you bear with me, you would think I should be like the pro at this part of it. But I am going to, let's see, because I want to start from scratch with a template. So that's what I want to do here with you guys. Okay. There we go. Okay, so let's see now, just a blank canvas. And so this is where you would start. So I would say that to start, and this is, and guys, in case, and ladies, in case you don't know, and I see you may have, okay, so it should be clear now that you can hear me. But in case you do not know, audience participation. So some of you will need to unmute. If not, I'm going to be forced to call you. So you might as well unmute for a few of you and call out some things. So we're going to start with first on this. We're creating a template for your RFP response. So anyone, what do you think should be the very first page? What should that first page look like? Anyone? Oh, don't be shy.
Maybe an intro of your company. Not sure. Kind of like a cover letter.
Yeah, absolutely. So great. So good cover letter. But how about what would you want before? So this is your, someone's going to receive this. And thank you for that. I see you're with Blue Violet Productions. What's your first name?
Monica.
Okay, Monica, thank you so much. I appreciate you stepping up. So think of this, whether you're delivering a hard copy at the local level, sometimes at your local or state level or county or city level, sometimes those are hard copies. So you have to hand deliver it or have it delivered. And in other cases, the majority are probably electronic submissions. So remember that what the very first sheet of what they're going to see. So what would you, if you're on the receiving end, what would you imagine would be that first sheet for you?
The title? I would venture to say that you would put down the title of the RFP.
There you go. So we want our first page to be, and it would help if I can spell, the first page to be your cover sheet, right? So your first page, you would start out for your template is your cover sheet. That makes it a little easy, okay? So everybody can knows how to create a cover sheet. And your cover sheet is going to be really simple, nothing you have to pay anybody for. You don't have to be a graphic artist, graphic designer, anything like that. It can be as simple as you're going to put in, how do we say, we want to put in maybe your a photo of your logo, right? I'm just going to throw one in here. Okay, so, and then this is my organization. Maybe it's like this, you're putting in your logo right there. Oh, well, it would help if I wouldn't take it out. Okay, there we go. Okay, well, you get it. Like I said, this is from scratch, guys. I wanted to make it like this so that you can see and not make it that it's not so where you're thinking, oh my God, I can't do this. Sure, you can, absolutely can. Okay, there. So you would start with a logo. I typically tell people start with their logo, okay? And then I heard someone, and I didn't get the name. Who was the person? Someone said, oh, you want the name of the solicitation. So what I usually put is the word RFP response. Is I put here. You should make it a little bit larger, of course, you know, and you can make it however you want. Again, you know, you don't want to spend a lot of time on this because this, you got a whole lot of other stuff to do. And you want to say RFP response, and then I would put solicitation number, you know, whatever that number is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, to that is what I would put there. And then under there, I would put the agency, right? Whatever the agency is. So if it's the Army or whoever the government entity is, so I would put their logo there. That's where I would put theirs. Okay, do you see that? Does that make sense to everyone? So government agency would go there. Your logo is at the top. And in the middle is where you would put, say, RFP response. So that's what they understand it to be. Definitely what's needed here is the solicitation number. And then you can put the government agency. Now, some cover sheets, some RFPs will tell you what they want. You know, they will tell you they want a cover sheet sometimes. Sometimes there's no mention of it. But I always suggest you do put at least a cover sheet. And another thing that I add for the cover sheet is that I will often go in and let's see if I can do it here. I will often go in and either put in a box, because sometimes, depending upon, especially I've seen these on federal ones, they will ask, they want to know upfront who's the contractor. So you'll have your name, of course, the name of your company, but what they're looking for is the contact person. And well, so contact person. So then, you know, I would put my name, and then, you know, you may put the email address, you would put the phone number, you know, usually that. And the other big thing that what's needed a lot of times also is that the governments, they like to know what your DUNS number is. So that helps too, to put that out there. Not always necessarily about the cage number, but definitely the DUNS number is good to have that here, okay? They don't have to look for it, and you can highlight. So that is kind of the basic information. And of course you would format it, make it, align and all, but this is just to give you a rough idea of something of what that would be on the initial page, right? Okay. Also at the bottom, just because you have your sheets that get out of order or something, whatever. So I always put at the, I will put like either my, I will put my website, or, if you don't have a website, or you can put your telephone number there. Okay. So that way the sheets come out of order when aprons, because everyone can see this, because what will happen is that this will be at the bottom of every page. Okay. That helps a lot when you're just to get started. So I just want you so that everyone can see what that looks like. So that is to give you an idea of that cover sheet. Your logo, your DUNS number is important. You can even space it, bring it down some. Definitely want to say RFP response, put the solicitation number in there. You can put the government agency, usually you'll know, but make sure you get the right one now. You don't want to make a mistake there about which agency. So be very clear, which it will state, you'll know. And then, kind of the end, I'm the contact person. So make no ifs, ands, and buts about it. That way they clearly know who the contact person is. And then of course, at the bottom, every sheet will have this, my website, or if not for you, maybe phone number. Some people choose to put, all of their information, telephone number, website, email, however you want to do that part, that's fine. Again, you don't want to spend a lot of time on doing that. Okay. All right. So that's that part. That's real simple. So that took a little bit longer. Again, I'm doing this from scratch. So it takes a little bit longer. I could have given you one custom made already, but that's no fun. So we're going to go. So now we're on to, consider this your official page. So what do you think would be the next page of this template that we're building? Anyone? What's the next page?
Your capabilities to fulfill what they want.
Hey, okay, good. Anyone else?
I often do a graph.
Executive summary.
I heard someone say summary. Okay, good. Anyone? I heard someone say executive summary. Yes. And
A cover letter.
A cover letter. Okay, good. All right.
Table of
So
contents.
right. So yeah. So here you want to do. It can be some instances. It will be either this will be your cover letter, or some will call it you'll see it referred to as a transmittal letter. Either or, but that would probably be in some instances your very next page, which will be your cover letter, or some will say ask for a transmittal letter. Okay. And you want to keep that really brief. You're going to have the agency's name and information. So if we're going to say Department of, I'm again putting information here, 123 Main Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, the zip 12345, whatever. And we're going to put attention, purchasing department. They know the person's name or not. If you know their name, of course, you're going to put it to them. And then you're going to you can start general greetings. Greetings, Mrs. Smith. And then you repeat these solicitations to make sure, so that way they know you're on board with it. Solicitation, and you put the number, in response to that, and then you just start typing. So you want to keep this part really, really brief though, the cover letter. Again, your cover letter is like what? Equivalent to what you would do if you were applying for a job or putting in your resume, right? A lot of people will send a resume and put no cover letter. That's 50-50, but it's nice to have that cover letter because then you get an opportunity to talk a little bit about you as to why you're the right company in this case, or the right candidate. So having that information there, but you want to keep it very, very brief. So you would do, just, 2, maybe 3 maximum, very, very, very short sentences here, very short. If it's a transmittal, they will often tell you what they want. Sometimes in the transmittal, they may want a certain statement that needs to be made. But that verbiage would typically is given, or they'll give you an indication of what they would like in that transmittal letter. So those are helpful because it'll tell you what it is. But if it doesn't say, if you put just a really brief something here, you would put that information in here, because remember, we have another part that we're going to get to that's kind of repeat a little bit of this. So this is just really brief, but this is kind of the informal side of you, of how you would, if you were verbally introducing yourself to someone. This is the equivalent of putting it in writing. Okay, but you want to make it brief because you don't want to do what? You don't want to dare bore them and have them shut it down before you even get a chance to really talk about yourself. Okay, and so then here you come back and you put your information, you let them know the CEO. I see a lot of people always say that they're the owner. That's kind of a turn off. You want to, remember, you're at a company level now. When you're applying to respond to these RPs, you're a company. So you're the CEO of your company. You can then, put the name of your company, whatever that may be, put that information there and keep it brief, keep it moving. If you choose to put telephone number, I would just do that. But I then come in and make this an electronic signature, okay? So this will be an electronic signature here. And if you say, well, I don't have all of that, how do I do this, that, the other? Hey, we got all kind of neat tools here. Ta-da! There's my electronic signature. And it's mine, so no one can't say that I didn't sign it. I just did. You all saw that, right? Okay, so that's your cover letter and your transmittal cover letter / transmittal. So that's just on page 2. All right, so we're going to keep this going. Okay, so what do you think is next? I heard someone say it earlier. What do you think is page 3? Anyone? Hello?
Your capabilities to perform the job.
I heard that one. What else?
Table of contents.
Table of contents. There we go. Table of contents is next. Hey, you may have quite a few pages here and they're not going to take time and go through all of that. It sure helps if you have your table of contents that's outlined there. Okay. So that everybody knows what table of contents looks like. And so you would then have, I don't want to give it away because then we're going to be doing those pages, but you get the idea. Everyone knows what table of contents looks like. Is that correct? Does anyone need to know what that's going to look like? Anyone? No one needs to know. Okay. So we're going to do that. You're going to just name it. And then you come across maybe, and you do its page, you all know how to do that. We learned this in school, so everyone's good with that, okay? Then you come out and do this one, come and do that. And I like to do Roman numerals here, but you can do whatever you want, okay? You can do it that way for your table of contents, or if you like to cheat a little bit, you can do simply kind of a box. And that way you don't have to worry about the formatting as much. You can name whatever it is, the page, And then this is your, page one like that, name it, that. So whatever format works for you is good. Okay, so that's table of contents. Good, we're moving right along. All right. Okay, so what's our next page? We're on to, this is, believe it or not, page 4. So what's our next page, guys, ladies? Anyone? Someone said it earlier. Don't be shy on me now.
The gentleman that said capabilities.
Okay, capabilities, what else?
The copy of the RFP. I don't know.
What am I getting ready to type here?
Executive summary.
Yes. Executive summary, but it also may be known as, some will ask for background, right? Some will say, call it history, company history. Right? So you may see any one of those names. And so that's where you want to put your information. Now, the other thing I did say, you can on these pages, of course, you can add your company template. I'm sorry, logo, so that you give a little pizzazz, because after a while, you're going to just be reading words. So, if you put your logo at the top left, or you put in the center up here, then that's fine. And not where it takes a lot of space, but that it does add some color. And that way you don't get bored, they don't get bored. At the end of the day, these are people who are reading these RFPs just like you're a person. And so you want to, keep it interesting for them as well. Okay, so it's nothing wrong with adding your logo there. So you're going to do your executive summary, your background, your company history. There are just a few things, and this is just like a paragraph. If it is, the rest of this page, then maybe it's just a couple of paragraphs, but you want to keep it, again, very interesting. So this is going to play off. This is going to be an extension and more detail than what you had as your letter. So your executive summary, a couple of key things that you want to know. Now, I'm going to just give you some bullet points, but you want to have this in, you want to be able to write this. So whether you write it or you have someone else who really is good at writing, but this is really important because now this really does serve as your introduction as well. So a couple of key points that I would say is that you would want to mention, and again, I'm going to do this only as bullet points, but you want to mention that if you're a minority or woman or veteran owned company. Okay, you want to mention, want to say stuff like established in and give your year 2016. In terms of and also, if you're not any of this, if you're not minority or woman or veteran, just stating that you're a small business is fine. Okay, there's nothing, of course, that speaks volumes. The other is that you want to state your location. However, and I will put this as optional. You want to state the location only if it's of relevance to the RFP that you're responding to. So meaning that if you're applying to something that's in Washington, D.C., and you're in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, then by all means mention where you're headquartered. You can say, established in 2016, headquartered in, use the language you're, like a company. We're headquartered in, to use that type of language. So having the location, I would only put it in if it is of relevance to the RFP. If you're in Nevada and you're responding to something that's in South Carolina, I would not put in your location. Okay, it's not necessary. You can also add here, you want to highlight what your service offering as it pertains to the RFP itself. So say you're in IT and you provide software development, you do websites, you create websites, you create apps, you do all of these things. It's not worth mentioning all of that unless the RFP that you're responding to is asking for all of that. So you always only want to mention what is of relevance to the RFP that you're responding to. Again, it's the same way that you would do on a resume for a job. There's no need in giving them all of the information about you if it's not pertaining to the job that you're applying to at that point. It's the same thing for an RFP, okay? So the service offering should highlight, what the request is for. Okay, right? Anything else that you think should be a part of this executive summary, background, or company history? Anyone? No?
Maybe past experiences, if anything similar to what was asked for?
Yeah, you can mention about clients, serve clients in, various, you can highlight, you can spell some of that out. Anything that's going to, again, you can put good information in this executive summary, background, company history, but it needs to be relevant to the RFP. There is no, just don't, and if it's one paragraph, then one paragraph it is. It doesn't have to be pages and pages, and a lot of times if they're gonna really need a large response to this, then you want to make sure that you're capturing and that you're spending time. That's the other thing, spending time on what's really of relevance. Because when they get ready to evaluate, a lot of times they're not going to spend a lot of time or give you points in this company history. This is not where your points are going to come in. This is just a nice to have, but this is not something where your points come in. We'll talk about where your points come in later. Okay. So these are kind of just the key things that you want to put in. Definitely, establishing, put in the date. Sometimes that, doesn't fare too well if you don't have as much experience. So maybe you don't put the date if you're, what you could put instead of that, rather than the date, how you would show that you have been doing what you've been doing for a long time. Like a lot of people have been started their companies as a result of them having been doing the work for years. Sometimes people have 30 years of doing something and then they decided to start their own company. So 30 years of experience is what you would state, how you would state that. 30 years of experience in cleaning or whatever that may be, custodial services or whatever it may be. So rather than focus on there that your business was established, how I would phrase that, I would change that to say 30 years or more, or 30 plus years of experience in cleaning, in marketing, in training and development, whatever it may be. That's a better way to show and to highlight. You see, that's what this part really affords you. This background, this summary really affords you the opportunity to kind of explain and give some details that they may otherwise not get as a result of some of the other pages that we're going to do. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure. I love questions. Good. Who is
It's Marilyn. Let me cut on my video. It's Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Marilyn.
My question is, I'm new to, federal contracts. I've never had a contract before. So how do we explain that? I might have the 20-something years experience in programming, IT programming. But now I am a recruiter. So, but I've never had a government contract before. How would I fare, bidding on a government contract?
Okay, so what is your company? What is your business?
Well, my business is a staffing and recruiting. And
Okay.
it's two divisions. My recruitment, I only focus on Python and C+ programmers. So I have a niche there. Those are the only type of programmers that I'm recruiting for. And because I have a background in that. and cybersecurity as well. But then
Okay.
staffing, you know, CEOs, directors, that's more in a professional administrative part. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so you're an executive recruiter.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you would state here. When did you form your company?
I just in June. I've been working on it.
Right. So, but your experiences, did I understand you say 20 years experience that you have?
Yes. Yes.
So that's what you would highlight here. You would not talk about when you were established, or rather you would speak to 20 years of experience in your stated field, 20 years of experience recruiting or staffing or working with. You may, maybe you didn't do exactly the staffing, but working with CEOs, working with, some of those titles that you called out. So there's always a way of how you phrase this so that to compensate for the lack of years that you may or may not have been in this. Okay.
Well, but my question is, I've never had a federal contract before.
Well, most people haven't. To be quite honest, on this call, most people who are on this call have not had that federal government experience. So it may not be for you have to find, and this is for everyone, you have to really read these RFPs, and not just the federal government. You have to look at your local level. You have to look at what's in your own backyard. Start at your city, the city where you are. Start at your local schools. Schools come under, schools have a different, the school districts have their own procurement and purchasing departments. So you want to look there. You want to look at the city level. You want to look at the county and at your state. Start looking there. And then you can also look at the federal government. Regardless of which agency that you go with, they are all going to be looking for some performance history. Okay. And so how you get it's like what we have all been accustomed to. Probably we're teenagers at some point in time, when you wanted your first job and someone would say, okay, great, but do you have experience? And you're like, well, no, I don't have experience. This is why I'm coming to you. I need my first job, right? It's the same thing with contract. You need that first win, but you actually have the experience already. It goes by how you're going to write that experience. And for Maryland and for all others, if you have formed your business as a result of having worked as an employee in that same industry, that is your performance history. Do you all understand that statement? If you have formed a business, but you have actually worked as an employee in that same industry for years, which is how most people start their business. And so now that is your performance history. You're not lying there. You're telling the truth. That is your performance history because you actually did the work. Yes, you were an employee, but you actually did the work. And so you would then, that's why I say it's always, don't burn any bridges, because then you want to have someone who can verify you did what you said that you're doing. That's all that it simply comes down to. And then it's a matter of being able to document that in your responses. Okay. So Marilyn.
That was my next question. I'm sorry. That was my next question because hi, my name is Eliasa Simpson. I work in an industry that I actually found an RFP yesterday that posted. And is it okay if we get a letter of reference from our program manager? I mean, the contract manager that's monitors our programs that like I direct 3 programs for 3 different industries for New York City. So
Okay.
say like, can I get reference letters from the people that monitors our programs? Like say like this year I had a perfect audit.
Right. Right, I
So I've been
understand. Yeah, you would not necessarily get a reference letter sometimes, but letters is letter job in the job industry. Remember, you're the CEO of a company here. This is your
Right.
business. So it's not a reference letter, it's a different format. In some instances at the local level, the city, county, state, they may send out a actual form that they want your references to fill out. And in other instances, even at the local, all the way up to federal, then they would just want you to list your references. And we're going to get to that part shortly here on the template.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is just highlighting here. Again, this is just a couple of, if you can get one paragraph in, great. This is where you talk about yourself. You don't want to say I, please eliminate the word I. Remember, you are a company, you're responding, writing this, but this is really your company. So this is not I, we provide. We, provide the following services. It's about we, plural. It is not about I, because that means your mom and pop, in that it's, it's a team of one. So remember, you want to eliminate that pronoun I, and you want to use plural we, okay? So we're going to come down. That was our executive summary, right? Okay, so now we are coming to, what do you think is on page 5? Anyone? I'm keeping my little cheat sheet here to make sure I get all of my points. What do you think is the next thing that we may want to look at? I'll help you out since you all are a little shy. So here you may want to talk about your methodology. In some cases it's called methodology. Others, it's the reference is going to say, other words may say technical aspect. Basically it's asking you, how are you going to do what we've out, show us or tell us, how are you going to deliver? So this answers the question of how are you going to deliver the services? That's really what this comes down to. And some people write this out, or in some instances, some RPs will give you labels. They will tell you what they want under different parts of it. It can be any number of ways. One that I did just the other day, client, it was complete graph because of the nature of the industry, the RFP. So they did a table, and we had it more graph format rather than text. So it really just depends. But here you want to be clear, because only you can do this. Now, even if you get a technical writer or someone, they're still going to come back to you on this part, because they're like, you're going to have to tell me how you're going to deliver the services. How are you going to, what do you do first? If you're a clinical psychiatrist, if you're IT, doing some IT repair, a software developer, how are you going to do what this RFP is asking you to do? And they want you to spell it out. You may have to do it, you may have to say, you may have to say step 1 and then come back, step 2, and you can do it in block form, come and spell it that way. You get it. Or you may do, paragraphs, first paragraph, we do X, Y, Z, but you want to make sure that you're answering all of the questions, right? So that's that page. And that one can usually go for, that's one of the pages that will definitely be evaluated if it calls for that. Now, every RFP doesn't absolutely ask for the method, technical aspect of it. But if it asks for it, trust me, it's going to be evaluated, and there are points associated with that. So usually that may be 2 pages for you. You know, some instances it could be even more because it's the bulk of what's needed. So that one may be definitely it's going to be one full page. It should not be a short one paragraph. Unlike your executive summary, your history, that's just something short. The technological approach, your that piece of it, no, that needs to be, you know, lengthy. Okay, needs to be not wordy, just words. It needs to make sense, because you're discussing your methodology, how you're going to carry out the work, and giving details and specifics of all of that. Okay, so that's that portion of it. Someone has a question, feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, I had a question. Like if you find an RFP and let's say it's to remove asbestos, but you don't
Yes.
have any experience in removing asbestos, but your plan is just to hire a company to actually perform the work. So once that company, you know, sends you something back saying how they would perform it, would you use that in this section?
Yeah, yes, the short of it, yes. If it calls for that. Again, each RFP, you will know, I'm giving you kind of a general here, but what I'm giving you doesn't always apply, will apply for every RFP. You will have in a case of, say it's removal of asbestos, you may be actually responding to what's known as an RFQ, request for quote, which is something totally different. The proposal is lengthy, actual, you know, more writing, more technical writing and all, but the RFQ response, request for quote, may simply be a matter of you filling out some forms, giving some basic information, and then filling out the cost price sheet and keep it moving. But if they should ask, you know, what is your, in other words, what's your full approach or anything like that, then you would have to spell that information out, yes. Okay.
Okay.
Answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. And so we're going to, I did methodology, right? So another area, and this is what someone was referencing earlier, was talking about references. And so on references, sometimes the agency will give you their own sheet, their own form of references. And on references, we're looking for minimum 3, maximum 5. Usually the RFP will tell you, but minimum 3, it's always have minimum 3, maximum 5, okay? And on the references where I tend to, I like to break it up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. Oh, and this is not going to be, of course, the format, but you know, here, this is too large. But I like to give them a little table, and normally what they will ask for is the, and actually, let me take this out. Sorry, folks. So this is our references. So here, if it's asking for references, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to put in the information for our references. You want to have the full name, their title. You want to have their business email address, their phone number. Okay. Some will ask for references, will ask for the business address. So you want to have that just in case, okay? But you want to be able to know your now, the references that you're going to be using are references pertaining to what? This RFP, okay? It needs to, you need to match things apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So, and in some instances, they also ask for references and state that it needs to be references that have been within the last say within the last 5 years. So meaning that you don't need to pull out people who from 10 years ago. Now, if it's something that you're still doing, that's something different. You may have started this in, 20 years ago, but you're still working with them or still, so those references will suffice. But here's where you want to put your reference. You want to start the first reference that you put up here. That's your most current. That's the one that needs to nail it. It needs to match exactly what they're asking for. Meaning that by the time you get to the fifth reference, that fifth reference may not be as relevant. Maybe you don't have as much experience with them or whatever. They need to be at the bottom. But your number one person needs to nail it for you. Okay. Your number two reference needs to nail it for you as well. But it's going to come down in significance. So by the time, if they should ask for 5, by the time you get to 5 is like, okay, but you've already sold them on reference number 1, 2, and 3. They're your top 3 people, right? But make sure that you have their full name, their title. Please have the email address. Preferably, you want to have the business email address and not a Yahoo or what's the other, Hotmail. Those are usually personal email addresses and all. That kind of was sent a fat flag to me, maybe not so much to others, but you want it to be business address, meaning that, this is Tammy at nawsb.org, which is the name of my business, right? So that way it's the name of my business. They can see, oh yeah, that's her company. Okay. And then, that type of thing, but not at Hotmail and a lot of people like to use Gmail, and that's fine. But if it can have the business name in there, that's great. Phone number and business address. So you have your references here. Okay. All right. Any question references? All right, moving right along.
Oh yeah, one quick question.
Sure.
If you have past experience, let's say like at the local level, you had like a local government contract that you did, but it didn't really refer to this specific one, would you still list that? Because that could kind of show you have like a history with doing government contracts.
It needs to match as close as possible to it. So we're at the point, and you were talking about performance history, right? So that's exactly where we are now.
Oh, okay.
So this is where list performance history. So sometimes people are confused. They'll say, well, we just did references. Why do they need to know performance history? Your references can be someone completely different than your performance history. Okay. So your performance history is actually showing now the work that you have done that's relevant to what is being asked of you. And for performance history, you want to get usually for, of course, your most current. So here's where you would name project. Okay. Usually they want to know the dates of performance, right? So you want to put that information in there. What else would you want to put? Of course, they want to know who's the contact person for it, their full information. What else would you need? What else? Sometimes they want to know the location. Okay. And then the, really big part, right? What did you do? So, and I have this out of order because Mark knows I normally put this on a spreadsheet for you guys, but definitely description would be really where I have dates of performance. That's where, so actually description would go there. So you would put the project name. So the young man who was just asking the question, let me have you as an example, if that's okay. And Mark, just before we're almost at 5 o'clock, is it okay if we go a little bit over?
You can take as long as you like, Tammy.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I don't know if the group agrees to that.
I've also said if anybody has to leave, because at 5 o'clock is sometimes it's happy hour. But in this case here, we're gonna put this recording up online if you have to leave. Okay. So
Okay,
you're
well,
doing
if
a
I
great
hear,
job.
okay, well, if I hear any ice cubes in a cup or anything, then I know what's going on, okay? All right, so here we go. So, so the project here, so performance history, the project. So the young man that was just speaking to me about performance history, if you can help me out here. Still there?
Yes. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
have
so
any.
tell me, okay, so tell
Okay.
me the name, what's your business? What's your business?
It's a affordable. The name of it is Affordable Pallet Service, and I pretty much supply, wooden pallets, metal pallets,
Awesome, awesome.
cardboard boxes, 55-gallon drums, like a lot of things that deal with like shipping.
Wonderful, great. So, okay, so you found an RFP that it's asking for what you provide?
No, not of yet. I found an RFP. They reached out to me because I guess they had money set aside specifically for a veteran-owned business. They're looking for someone to do generator maintenance on the VA's on the VA's generators.
Yes.
I personally don't have experience with that, but I was just going to try to find a subcontractor and still put in a bid. But I haven't.
Okay.
I don't have any prior experience, so I don't even know if they would take someone like me.
Okay, and then so in that case, it's probably asking for a quote, right? And maybe just some references to your work. Again, where you find more of what I'm outlining here is typically service related type of RFPs, right? Not so much commodity or product based, because usually those are usually your requests for quotes. In some instances, though, you will have some forms. Usually it'll be more forms on things that are more product based, where they want you to fill out the form, show proof of insurance, and any number of things from there. Okay. But here, this template I'm providing here is more service based. And so here's where you would put your performance history. Again, some of the government entities will actually give you a form to fill out to document the performance history, or if not a form, they will state in text what they want you to cover. They may have it in bulleted items to say, give us the name of the project, perform daily. Less, you should have this portion already anyway, of documenting your performance history on an ongoing basis. It should not be a one-time thing. All of you should have performance history, have that documented on a spreadsheet so that you can keep up with all of what you have done and what you are currently doing. So when they talk about the agency or the project, a lot of times they will even say, put the contract name. So don't let that throw you. If you haven't had any contracts, because it may say contract slash, they may say, put the contract number or put the project number. Some you may say, oh, contract, I've never had a contract. So simply you can put here the agency name or the project name. The first order of business is if you have had a contract, then you want to put the contract number is really what they're looking for. But if not, simply putting the agency name, putting some information there. So we're going to just say this is a VA for Veterans Administration, VA 101. Okay, that's an example. Again, this can be a client name. It can be the project. Maybe you've done some commercial something. So maybe you've done something for McDonald's, you've done cleaning for them. So you're going to put it as the company name instead of actual, because this is you. It's up to you what you want to put it. The dates of performance, you want to, you may not have the exact date, but if you do, great. If you do not, then you want to put definitely the month and the year. If you're still doing it, then show as present or current. That's fine. What you don't want to say is 6 months. Now, don't do that. So you want to be specific. You want to answer, you don't want to just say 2006 to 2021. You really want to give a little bit more, give at least the dates of something. Okay, so if it was 20 and through, maybe you only got it in for, due to the pandemic, you only got it in for a couple of months, okay? That's okay. People understand it. When everybody sees 2020 now, everybody's like, oh yeah, we know what happened, right? Okay, so then you get that information. And for contact person, full, I cannot stress this enough. You must put the full information, meaning their full name, their title, just like we did on the reference portion. You want to put their email address, want to have their phone number, you know. If they ask for business address, you want to include that. If they do not ask for it, it's not necessary. But you really want to have full information here. And the reason being is that they're going to actually go back, whether it's listed here in the performance history or the references, they will either call those individuals or they will email them. If they're emailing them, sometimes they're emailing them a survey to complete. So either if you don't, it's not there, they're not going to go chasing it down. Okay. So you need to make sure you have the full information of there. Location is important, that, you know, if you can say that it was, you know, Atlanta, Georgia, I guess, maybe all of your work is all of this is all in the same, you know, area, but you want to say specifically the city, you know. Georgia's a place, Atlanta's a big place. We have cities all over, and the same for other areas. So you want to name the location, okay? If it was something that's done virtually, then there's nothing wrong with saying virtual. Nothing wrong with that, okay? What's really important is the description. And under description, you want to quantify. Okay, so meaning that you want to state that whatever work that you've done, if whether it's supplying widgets, building motors, cleaning office spaces, you want to put square footage, you want to say how many times per week you did training or consulting, you want to say if you did IT, how many users were impacted, whatever you can quantify in your explanation, your description is what you want to do, okay? So here, if it's, you know, if it's you developed a website, how many users did it impact, or, you know, approximately? If it's a building that you cleaned, how many floors, how many what's the square feet of that? Again, and if it's training, if you were a speaker, if you're a clinician, if you're a doctor, a therapist, how many patients did you service? How many, you know, clients did you see? Whatever it is, quantify and state in words what it is actually that you did. Again, you only want to put this information here as it relates to this RFP. You also want to put whatever is your thing that comes closest to it needs to be your number one. Okay. So maybe say you only have one, you're responding to an RFP and you've only had, say the RFP is regarding nursing or something in the healthcare, and asking, working in pediatrics, but you've done all of your experience in working with adults, and maybe you only had a summer something that you did for pediatrics. That's going to be your number one. It's that. And then you can come down and list all the others, okay? All the other experience that you have. But your number one should always nail exactly what they're asking for. And then you put it in order from there. The number two should be close, maybe didn't get it all the way. So maybe they are looking for, say this is government and you didn't have any government experience. People oftentimes forget working for in the school system that's government in a public school. So if it's private, but if it's public school from elementary on up, that's under government, under your county, in some cases city schools. So that's still government. So putting that there, and then that would be your number one. But then after you said, well, I then worked at a daycare center or something like that, then the daycare center would come down here. But what you want to show then, if you only had one that was of relevance, your number 2 is going to show more in terms of the weight would carry in the description, because they give the mark for the end, but you points because of the quantifier in terms of the numbers, right? You may hit the target there with the numbers. So it's just being conscientious here of how you're putting into the order of things under the performance history, okay?
Miss Tammy.
Yes.
This is Annie, and may I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, my question goes back to the contact information.
Yes.
What if, well, my field has been, I retired from the state of Illinois, and I was a contract compliance monitor. And so in state government, it's like every 2 years, 3 years, you get a different, supervisor, manager. So when you're asking for contacts there, plus I'm up there in age. So most of the people that I truly work with, they're no longer there. So for the purpose of contact, what would you recommend I would put in that space?
Sure. Now and that's the reason why the references are different than performance history. So references, a couple of things. Make sure, and this is not just for you, but for everyone, make sure before you leave your jobs that you make sure whether it's your supervisor, your manager, or even a colleague, because your colleague can serve as a reference for you, okay? So there's nothing wrong with having your colleague serve as a reference for you. But make sure that you have the contact information for people. We understand, now more than ever, people do not stay on jobs 30, 40, 50 years like our parents did, or like even some of us may have done in the past. So you want to make sure that you, before people leave, say, hey, if you don't mind, give me your personal number too. Give me your cell number. Even sometimes people change the cell numbers, but at least you have some information for them. So in answer to your question, you just want to have that person's name and contact information. However, if they have moved on and you have no way of contacting them, you can still list this information. But in a case, in your situation, unlike others, you're in an industry, an entity where your HR department is not going anywhere. So they can verify all of this information, because they will be able to verify, oh yeah, and at most what they will state is, yeah, she did work, she was employed, she worked for us during that time, XYZ, right? But you really want to have the contact information for people who can vouch for what you have done in a certain, whatever capacity that you've worked in doing the work. The other part of it is that in doing this, a lot of times, because remember, this is business. So the purchasing agent, the buyer, the contracting office, whoever may be making these calls or emails, they're also going to be referencing your company and not you by name. So what you want to do for your references and your contact people, you want to give them a heads up. Hey, I've started a company. This is the name of my company. I'm putting you down as a reference if that's okay with you. And they're going to, when they call to verify information, they will be calling it under my business, the name of my company, and just know that that's associated with me, okay? So you have to have that kind of conversation with people so that you're giving them a heads up, and they too will appreciate it. They're not left in the dark, okay? Because when the purchasing agent, buyer, or contracting officer, whoever it is, contacts them, chances are they're going to be saying, hey, we're calling to verify that company ABC did the videography work on these dates. Can you verify that? How was the work done? Was it done to your satisfaction? They're going to speak that way and not necessarily give your name. So you want to make sure that the people who you're putting down for references, they are over that. All right, so that is the performance history. The next is that we will come to, of course, you want to get your price or / cost sheet. And usually there will be a form for that. If it's federal government, I think it's, what is it, 1449 form that has to be completed. And that's going to be at the top. That's going to be really part of your package from at the beginning. But if it's RFQ, in most cases, there is a form. So a lot of times you're going to be filled and put in information there. You don't have to necessarily do anything there, but just know it's a part of your package. In some instances, they may tell you, put the form as a separate. If you're doing a paper copy, sometimes they'll state they want those the price sheet on top, or they want it separate. Some will say we want a technical, the technical piece as one, and then they want the price sheet totally separate, separated. So however it's stated, just know that you'll have that part together. All right, and then we're almost done. So if you all can hang in here a little bit longer, and then we have this next part. I just call this forms. All right. The last part of your document will be all your forms. And under the forms can include the insurance certificate. They have to put that, any licenses that may be required, business license. Sometimes the government wants to see a copy of your business license. Some cases, they want to see driver's license, depending on what it is that you're doing, especially if you're involving children. Sometimes they want to see your driver's license. But any of those forms, but those are forms that the government is providing. So you will be filling out the forms and you will put that at the end of your RFP. Okay. So that's it. And then the final page will be just kind of your closing, just a really brief something, closing statement. And it doesn't have to be anything. Sometimes I do them. It's just a 1 line or 2 line. It's real simple, Oops. Well, okay. And you're putting your logo here again. If you haven't put it before, you can put the logo back here just as a reminder. And in your closing statement, it's just very brief. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for requests. And then you can come back and repeat your information we had here. This contact person, you can just copy and paste that and put it back on the last page again. So meaning that they know, okay, and this is the person who we want to contact if we have any questions or anything like that. So you would come back and put your contact information. Okay. And that's it. So clear as mud.
I haven't heard that statement in a long time. That's a good saying there. Clear as mud. So aren't we all grateful
Right.
to Tammy being here? So we got the sessions chat still opened up, but I am if you want to let that screen go, I think that was all helpful. And go ahead and get that Google Drive started, just like Tammy has shown us, and that's going to make your presentations go a lot smoother and having that data ready to go.
Yeah, it makes it so easy, having that in Google Drive or anything like that. So, and don't be afraid of the technology. You're welcome. Don't be afraid of the technology. It's here to help you. The great part about using, Google Drive or something like that is that it's saved, for one, as you're typing it. And there's no such thing as making a mistake, because all you have to do, as you saw me do, you would just kind of do a refresh or go back. It's still there. So don't think that you have lost all of your information. You have not. It's still there. Okay.
So as we end today, we want to see if you have any questions, but also, Tammy, if you want to give them your contact information, anytime anyone ever calls me and says, do you have somebody who can help me with RFP writing? Tammy knows I'll send them her way. So she probably gets a little bit tired of me sending her all those folks, but she is the best out there. You won't go wrong with her working with you. And if you do have a inquiry, you could drop that into the chat box, Tammy. And I've already dropped it in once, so they have that detail.
Okay, okay, no problem. I'm gonna
There you go.
do that and some this right back, and there's the contact information. Okay.
So everybody do a
right.
screenshot of that. And if you don't get it, just email us at GovDirections, and I'll be glad to refer you to and introduce you to her by email. And so just reach out to us at the appropriate time. This is a recorded version, so I'm going to stop the recording now. If you do have questions, we can get those asked before we end up completely offline here. So let me just stop the recording. Let's see, I think I can do that. Without ending, there it is, Paul, stop recording.